Share what you thinking, what you thinking.
What's on your mind?
Share what you thinking, what you thinking.
Hey, what's on your mind?
Share what you thinking, what you thinking.
Tell me, what's on your mind?
Share what you thinking, what you thinking.
Hey, what's on your mind?
Say what you thinking, what you thinking.
What's on your mind?
Share what you thinking.
All right, so welcome back to So What You Think, our second edition. I won't count them off every show, but I have to say it today because this is the second one you guys are sitting through for us. We love you for that. So we're going to jump right into these topics. This is a topic show where we sit around and, well, listen, Seinfeld had a show about nothing. Why can't we, okay? And he was a huge success with that thing, and I figure we can do the same thing, sit around and talk about some things that we just want to talk about, okay?
Absolutely.
All right, so let's think. I want to talk about this. Where has being an independent woman really got us today? Are we better off for it or no? The perception of what it means. Do you think we're better off with the independent thing, the way people look at it?
Can I go first? Oh,
Yes.
Go ahead. Well, honestly, a lot of women who are independent didn't choose to be independent. They were put in that position.
Okay.
And it's a position that they've probably mastered. They do everything because they have to, not necessarily because they wanted to. The problem that I have is when men use that as a weapon. They
How so?
weaponize us. You're too independent. You're so independent that you're undateable. And
Do you think that's true, though? That's a lot of women are so independent that they are not available.
I think a lot of men don't want to put in the work. And it's not a whole lot of work that you need to do because clearly I've done it all. So you don't need to do anything. You just need to show up and be present and be your whole self because I really don't need you to do a whole lot. But if that's the type of woman that you want, you probably should go younger.
But that could be the problem, because if you done it all, what is there left for them to do? Is the way they have
well,
to
at
look
this
at it.
age, you need a companion because somebody's going to need to push you around in that wheelchair.
I'm going to tell you something, and this is the truth. These ladies here got to experience something different with men than we got to experience.
I agree.
Pulling out chairs and standing for them when they walked in the room. Some people think that stuff is outdated, but my goodness, how good that must have felt for you all to experience that. A man take his hat off in your presence and all that stuff. You know, and now you can't even get somebody to give you a seat on a bus that's crowded or anything like that. So I think that there's a good part to the independence thing, but in some areas I think we just overdid it. I want to be soft and feminine. I don't know what y'all when I ain't.
But you can be soft and feminine and still independent. It's kind of like what Cherie said. Being independent, I mean, most of us, men are independent, but no, they don't get the label slapped on front of them. That's an independent man. Like, it's... He gets up, goes to work, does what he has to do. Nobody goes, look at that independent man over there being independent, just act like he can't do this.
Like he don't need a woman.
Right. And somehow and when you hear women saying, I'm an independent woman, I don't need a man, she's not saying she doesn't want a man.
Exactly.
What she's saying is, I don't need the BS that I have experienced or I've seen in the past. Like, yeah, like you said, women in the past had men stand up, pull the chair and all that. But those same men were also having other families, 2 neighborhoods
Well, they still
down.
doing that.
Yeah, they are, but I'm just saying
They had to put up with more.
Right, they put up with a
they were
whole lot.
dependent upon that man's income.
right. So now women are saying, listen, feel free to come in, but just don't bring the drama. I don't want the BS that you're going to bring in. You're going to come into my life, come in and add some value to my life. Like, I have my own job. I have my own house. I don't need you to do those things. But the things that I do need you to do, just do that. It's really not that hard. And I think one of the reasons why there's such a big divide is because a lot of people don't want to deal with people who want the same things they want. So, if you're a man who you're like, I just don't want an independent, where the women there who cook and clean for me? Go find a woman who want to cook and clean. But that's not usually what happens.
Anymore.
Instead, that's that guy wants to go to the woman who is like, I don't cook and clean. And now you want to try to force her to be the woman who wants to cook and clean.
Andrea?
I think for me, it depends. In my world, when you are made to be independent by default, because you had to do. it also can be a bad thing now in my new world because that's what I've grown accustomed to, and that's what I've learned how to do, is to do it on my own, so much so that when a man is trying to help and do the things that we want them to do, it's hard for me to accept it, and it's hard for me to allow him to do that. It's a learned process because that's what I've gotten so used to doing. I'm used to doing it on my own, and sometimes it could be a bad thing. It could be a good thing and a bad thing.
You have to find that balance on how to peel it back just a little bit.
You have to.
Rashida, what you think?
I think balance. I'm with you with that. Balance. We need to respect each other.
Oh, they can't hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, you said balance, what now?
I think we should be balanced. That we can respect each other. That we can come with I would say, I'm here for you. You're here for me. You know, don't overstep each other's boundaries. We need to just respect each other. You know, that's what I believe.
Kanisha?
I think a lot of times the reason that some women are more independent is just due to a lack of trust and being disappointed so much prior to that particular partner they may have. I can't say that. It's kind of like you want to be treated soft and feminine, as you said, but then you want to have this hard, you know what I'm saying? This whole hard, you know, I don't need you, I can do it myself. And I think that turns some men off. What happens is men kind of have a need to feel needed.
Right.
So you can be independent, but there's a way that you need to still, you know, be softer.
Yeah, I think
And
if you
let
use the
someone
words,
feel needed.
I don't need you,
Yeah, that nobody wants to hear that, really.
be a little bit rough.
But I don't need you, I want you. There's a difference.
Okay. You have to add that caveat in there. You know, I don't need you, but I want you.
Right, like and I think that's, I don't know if anybody watches Queen Sugar, but that was a big deal. What, like season 3, 4, when Aunt
Bye.
yeah, and Hollywood were getting married. Like that was a big thing with them, that he couldn't understand what she was saying. She wasn't saying that she didn't want him to be the man in their relationship and provide for her and do those things. She was saying, I don't need you to. Like, and that was a big fight. And I think that's a big disconnect for men and women. I get men want to be needed, but that's what I'm saying. She needs you, but not in the way that you want to be needed. Like like I said, if I've got my own home, if I pay my own bills, I don't need you to provide those things for me. But if you're going to come on in, I need you to contribute to the pot, and we can, like you said, we can do it together. We don't have to overstep each other. I shouldn't need to be destitute for you to feel like, oh,
So do you
now,
do
girl,
you
let me
think
come on
that-
in. I got this. Like,
Do you think that men and women have defined roles in a relationship? Because I'm gonna tell you something, it worked better now with the way I seen it. People had their defined roles. It worked a little better because there wasn't nobody struggling. That's your job. That's my role. That's your role. You know.
see, I saw the opposite. I saw every married couple that I saw growing up, they had like the defied gender roles. The women cook and clean. The men do this. But all the women were angry and bitter about it.
Not all.
She's saying,
What I
she's saying
saw.
her people.
Okay, but you
Yeah,
saw.
what I saw
Okay.
growing up, like none of the women were happy about it. Like they did it because that's just what you do. But especially like at family functions, when the men folk go off to their part and the women are left alone, every woman in their room was letting loose about how unhappy they were with the state of affairs in their relationship.
But that's also due to the fact that they were in those relationships because they did need their partner.
No, they
So
didn't.
they
My
may
grandma-
have needed,
No.
so they may have needed to, you know, have a home, you know, and all of that. And a lot of times back then, a lot of women were not able to have a home for themselves and all of that without a husband. But
Women
I
were not
kinda
even
feel-
allowed to buy houses.
I was just about to say,
Yes.
For a while, yeah.
Yeah. So I think, but when you tell people, it's kind of like this whole thing of, you know, what do you bring to the table and what do you offer? But the thing is, that's not really a lot of value to most men. So when you say, I don't need you, it's kind of like, well, I don't really need you. You get what I'm saying? And it's like, so, but it's the whole, what do you bring? People don't understand what the actual table is.
Oh, my shoes making
So
noise.
a lot of men don't really value the whole, oh, I have my own money, oh, I have my own this and that. They don't really care so much, you know?
They care
Wait, I have a-
because
Depending
then
on
they
what
get
kind of
mad and
man.
call you a gold digger if you want him for his money. So it's finding that
catch-22.
sweet spot of knowing what you want and what you value in a relationship, and finding someone who compliments you and wants the same thing, as opposed to two people fighting with the same thing. Like like I said, if you don't value that I have my own home and all that, and you want someone who is more concerned with the domestic work and wants to cook and clean and take care of the babies and all that, don't sit and try to build that with the woman who don't care about that.
That's true. That's true.
This fight wouldn't even happen.
Here's the thing, though, because we have a couple men in the audience, so I want to try to throw it to you just for a second, because it's a question about women being independent. Don't get nervous. It ain't a test. But what I'm saying is, what do men really think about that? I'm independent. How does that really read to you? What does that make you think when a woman tells you she's independent? Anybody want to address that?
Don't everybody jump
They like, I ain't going.
It's all right.
They like, I ain't going. It's a trap.
Speak.
No?
So can I just say this? Because I've been, at my age of 51, I've never been married. I've never lived with anyone. My son is 33. I have my own house. I've done pretty much everything that I needed to do on my own when I didn't need to use my parents for whatever it is. So for me, in this space, never having shared anything with anybody, even my brother and I had separate rooms. Our birthdays are 2 days apart, but we had separate parties. I've never had to share anything. So I tell men when I get into situations where it looks like it may get a little serious, and I explain what I just explained, and I say, you have to help me relinquish some of what I do
Control.
to you, because I'm just used to taking the trash out when the trash is
Oh, no.
because because it's my house, and if I don't do it, nobody's gonna do it. So I'm not thinking.
You stop by my house, you can take that on out there for me.
And again,
That
I
go
don't.
for a nephew, cousin.
I don't even have
anybody.
people
You can
coming
get that
over.
For me. I ain't got
I don't
to
have
do
people
that.
coming over. So they're just things that I just do automatically because.
And kill the bugs.
Oh yeah, well that.
Any spiders that may show up. Any ladders that need climbing. Come by here. You know what?
Absolutely.
In fact, I don't see Tyree. I got a light bulb need changed right now in my closet that I can't reach up there. So I've been intending to call you and tell you I want you to come by there and reach up there. Not reach, but reach up there for me.
Can I say this for a minute? I just want to say
Girl, get a ladder. Get a ladder.
I think a lot of men like to be needed
Right.
as well. They like to be needed,
Right.
but you have
What
to.
say you?
I'm saying, don't you men like to be needed?
Yeah.
We like it, but I just think that if you're gonna be independent, don't be independent when it's convenient.
Okay.
You know, yeah, I wanna be convenient. It's just like saying, okay, you're only an adult when it's time for you to be an adult versus now you wanna be a child because you need assistance. And you put yourself in a hole. So if you're gonna be independent, you know, don't just do it when it's convenient for you. Be independent all the time.
But what do men really think when you hear a woman saying, I'm independent? Is that read negative or good to you?
To me, that's a bad thing. I mean, it's okay to be independent, but I think society has changed the roles. You know, it made it very difficult for a man. And what I mean by that is that you see so much stuff on TV that it's like they're programming you to be a certain way. And so now, according to, I hate to talk about Beyonce, but, you know, that's how they have it right now. So a man, what choice do we have?
Right.
And you always hear this term, and I don't like bringing it up all the time. Well, I need a real man in my life.
I hate
What is a real man?
I hate that. Yeah.
That's not nice.
What is a real man?
Yeah.
I mean, this could go a whole different way
Yeah.
because how I am, you know, as far as being, you know, a male and how I view women, which is not a bad thing, but I just know being brought up in the older ways,
Yeah.
that it's a total difference right now from being independent, you know, versus how we are now.
For one quick second, pass that mic over that way, because I want to ask somebody from this generation, what do you all think about the whole independent thing?
I feel there's no such thing as an independent woman. You should never, and I'm a professional, and I'm personally, because I was divorced early in life, and I always had what I needed. But if you go up to a man and tell him, I'm independent, or you act as if you're independent when you're meeting, he's going to say, do I want to play with her for a while, or do I just want to walk away? Never say, I'm an independent woman, because you're not. You're dependent on somebody. You're dependent on yourself. It is wrong to say, I'm an independent woman in today's world. And for instance, if like someone just said up there that I did this and I do this and I've never been married, if you tell him you've never been married and you did this, and he'll say, well, he could think other things about you. Don't ever say it. It's not good.
Well, I'm single, so that indicates that I've never been married.
No, she's just speaking from her perspective.
No,
of
I
what,
get that,
you know, what it
but
is.
that's not anything that I automatically, I'm like, I've never been married.
Yeah.
If they ask,
Yeah.
I'll tell them, because, I mean, I'm not ashamed of not being married.
If you don't just come out and say, well,
No, I don't. I don't come out and say I'm independent either.
right here, and I said to him, and he said to me, because I'm not going to say anything, because I am from old school.
Microphone.
I would never, even give him an eye or anything. I would let him know I'm not interested in him. But some women would go, hey, what you doing after here? I've seen that. And they come to my office and they say, well, I tried to talk. Well, that's what you did. Why did you want to try to talk to him? He saw you, you saw him. If he was interested, you were interested, you would have got together.
Okay, you all, let's go on to the next subject. Because, everybody's going to have their pick on the way they want to be viewed, independent, soft, whatever. I'm a little bit of both. Okay, I'm going to do what I got to do, but that don't mean I want to do it. Okay, but how else is going to get done?
Interconnection.
Yes, indeed. Rebound love.
Don't do it.
Do you trust it? A bad breakup, if it's a divorce, if the spouse died, do you believe someone is ready to love again in, let's say, a month after, for whatever reason, their love situation went away? You think a month is enough for them if their mate dies or whatever?
I think it depends.
Oh, I'm sorry. Before we get into this, it's time for us to take this break. I'm sorry about that. I should have looked over there before I went into this next subject. So let's take this break, and we'll come back and pick it up here.